Welcome back to Module 2. So with some of that thinking that you were doing about why projects aren't delivered consistently on time and on budget, I want to go through some of our red flags, some of the issues, some of the symptoms that we see in the businesses that we coach that would lead us to question. It's like, are your project managers really doing what you pay them to do or not? So here they are. The first one is that your net profit is really low, right? If your net profit at the end of the year is like in the negatives, or it's close to zero, or maybe it's like 4%, usually a sign of poor project management. And why is that? It's pretty simple. It's because money loves speed. Your business has fixed expenses that need to be paid, whether you build a lot or you build a little. Office, vehicle leases, the salaries of your management staff, the various insurances that you pay for, the technology that you pay for, all of that stuff needs to be paid. And poor projects and missed deadlines accumulate over the course of a year. And that means that you produce less revenue in that 12-month business cycle that drives the gross profit and covers those fixed expenses and then creates a healthy net profit. Good project management systems, allow you to ram as much revenue as possible through your overhead, right? You're ramming as much revenue through your fixed expenses as possible, and that's what generates a healthy net. So I'll give you a really simple example. Company A, Company B, okay? Company A does $10 million a year in revenue. Their projects are estimated and executed at a 25% gross profit margin, and they need to pay about $1.3 million a year in overhead to keep the lights on at the place. You know what I mean? Company B, because they have tight project management systems, they get things done a little bit faster. They're able to squeeze out a bit more revenue. So you remember, Company A did 10 million. Company B does 12 million. Same GP at 25%, same overhead at 1.3 million. So this is the speed factor. Company B is a little faster. If you do the math on this, you'll see that Company A makes 1.2 million in net. Company B makes 1.7 million in net, right? It's $500,000 more profitable for a little bit more work, and that's made available by good PM systems. So this is the biggest factor that we have available to us as construction companies, to create that healthy trickle down all the way to the bottom line. So that is what we're talking about when we say low net profit, and that's a huge alarm bell for us when we see it in the businesses that we work with. Similar but different, if your gross profit margin doesn't hit the goal. If you are constantly finding excuses from your team around why you didn't hit the gross profit margin on a project, let's say you had a goal of hitting 30% on a build and you really only hit 19%, and this is like a pattern, this is happening all the time, that is likely a result of bad project management systems. Leading causes of bad gross profit, low gross profit: mismanaged labors or subtrades, major overspends on materials, and then mismanaged change orders and the scope creep that follows. So if you're, eating a bunch of work for free and you're not effectively charging that back to the client, that's another thing that hugely drives gross profit down, which of course affects your net profit, as we talked about a slide earlier. If you see that your projects go over schedule all the time, right? You had a remodel that was meant to take 2 months and it takes 3. You had a full build that was meant to take a year and it took 18 months. Like, if this is a normalized thing in your business, that's another big red flag for us. And the fourth and final one would just be if your project manager has no written details. They don't have a job description. They don't have SOPs to follow. They don't have quality control checklists. They don't have communication plans, all the stuff we're going to talk about later. If they essentially have a business card and a vehicle and that's it, that is generally another big red flag for us. So with that in mind, I'd like you to think for a second between now and the next module, where do you see the gaps in your project management? Was it one of those 4, or is it something we didn't mention? So do some reflection. You might even want to write it down on a piece of paper, because what we're going to get into next are some of the fundamental systems that will fix this. And I guarantee whatever the thing you're bumping up against, we've got something that'll help. So we'll see you at the next module.